Hi, welcome to my channel. I have another unboxing, this time with a much newer kit. This one came out last year, I believe. And it's the Gaunt's Ghost set that was released to do with the Black Library series. I feel like there might have been a new book at the time and they were trying to show that off. Although, the box doesn't say Black Library on it like the Go-Trek one does, so maybe this wasn't. My understanding is this is supposed to stay in stock forever. It's always sold out, though, so I don't really know if that's just to do with the supply issues they still are having. I'm not sure how they're still having as much of a supply issue when it's been a couple of years and they do produce this stuff in-house. But I think it's also just because they do have such a large volume of sales at this point that there's just a large rotation before things get back into production. That might be all that's happened here. So anyways, this is a really cool set that is very expensive. If you're not a huge Gaunt's Ghost fan, there's no way this is worth the money they're asking for it. I think this is like $80+ Canadian now, and I'm pretty sure I paid still 70 something for it. It might have been 60s. I think I might have bought this from a third-party seller, but it's a very expensive kit for 6 models, even if they are characters. But, I love Gaunt's Ghosts. I read the books somewhat when I was a kid, when I was a young man, but I didn't get too far into it. I've never been a big Black Library reader, so I was only 3 or 4 books into it. I don't even know if I was that far, to be honest. But since I've picked up Audible, they have actually been doing these about every 2-3 months. One of these comes out, probably about every 3 months. And I think they're at book 7 or something. They're at Trader General. Anyways, Trader General just came out recently, last couple of weeks. And I'm just about finished listening to that at this point. At least when I'm filming this, it might not come out for a week or two, if not longer. But it's a good book. Actually, I'm going to stop just to say, if you've not read or listened to Trader General, it's one that I actually think is worth listening to for anybody, whether you're interested in Gaunt's Ghosts or not, just because a lot of it's actually about chaos and what's going on their side. And I don't mean Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines. I just mean chaos people. And it's really interesting the way it's presented, because it's not the chaos that GW really kind of presents to us with just the madness and the hatred and the violence. And it's really interesting. It's probably one of the more interesting things I've heard from a Black Library book. You've got your Caiaphas Cain, which is the, haha, tongue-in-cheek, it's funny because he's a commissar, but even though everything he does proves he's a hero, it's also just him trying to avoid death. He's not an amazing hero because he's born to be. He's just a hero that somehow just, in his efforts to not die, does something heroic anyways. Versus Gaunt, who's, your stereotypical commissar, other than, he's not shooting everybody. He tries to avoid shooting them, but he's your more standard hero commissar guy. But then in Traders General, you get this this view of basically chaos, life, I guess. I don't know what to call it. It's the way they're running their government almost. It's very different. I didn't expect that, so that's cool. And I'm gonna get off that topic now, but definitely if you've not read Trader General, but you're interested in even just chaos, that could be interesting for you. So anyways, Gaunt's Ghosts. The book series started coming out 20 years ago, I'd say, and it follows Commissar Colonel Ibrahim Gaunt, and he is both a commissar and an officer. This does happen from time to time, although mostly we know about it from this series, I believe. And because of his role in the Sabbath World Crusades and his friendship or connections to the War Master, the original War Master before the newest one took over, he was given not just his commissar rank, which he earned through going through the Scala Progenia. He gets also the rank of colonel so that he can lead a regiment. And that regiment is going to be part of the Tanith first founding. And Tanith is a forest planet. These guys are woodworkers and stuff, essentially, and woodsmen. And he's there when they're raising their first 3 regiments. It's the first time they've been able to put together a tithe of troopers, and chaos attacks as they're getting ready to board their ships. He saves about 1 regiment's worth. And as they escape, the planet dies. That's why they're Gaunt's ghosts and the Tanith first and only. There will never be another Tanith regiment until the day comes that they found their own planet and call it New Tanith or something. Which could be... It's something they do talk about in the books. They think that if they do something really heroic, they'll get the right of settlement, which is when they basically get disbanded and say, okay, you guys did so good on this planet, it's now yours, and here's some extra colonists, now you can make a planet. And you guys are like the first ones. That's like a goal for a lot of them. Now, in the box, you get 6 characters. So as I said, Colonel Commissar Ibrahim Gaunt, and you get his 2 leading officers, Colonel Colm Corbeck, who is a very good friend of his. These guys are like buddy-buddy, and they respect each other, and they work well together, whereas Major Elam Ron does not like Gaunt. There's some spoilers here, but they're nothing too major. Ron just basically hates him because, like a lot of ghosts, he blames Gaunt for forcing them to leave their planet when it was dying, instead of staying to fight, because, you know, deep down, even though they know they would have died with it, they say, you know, maybe I would have lived, maybe we would have lived, maybe we would have won, and it's your fault and we hate you. So, bad blood there, but these 2 guys basically came in to get mad at him, essentially, at the start, and instead of kind of listening to them get mad about this and demand to go back and fight, he just says, okay, well, everybody's dead, there's no more officers, and you 2 are now my officers. And that's, you know, these guys weren't officers, I don't think. They were just basically troopers. But they were the first 2 he saw, essentially, and he said, okay, you speak for the other guys, that means you're in charge. And for years and years and years, they've all fought together. Then you have Sergeant Scout Owen Mccall. He's in charge of the Scout unit. And these guys here are the best scouts and stealthers he has. The entire regiment is stealth scouts, basically. They're light infantry. They wear these camo capes that let them blend in to their surrounding. Basically think Lord of the Rings with the hobbits and their little capes they get. Their cloaks. Same idea. Very good for hiding on top of the skills they already have. These guys come from a woodland planet, as I said, and just as a result are very good woodsmen, trackers, good at hiding in the trees, finding paths, all that. So they're all really good, but his units are the best. And Mccall is a very important character throughout the series, at least as far as I am, and I think this is a great sculpt. So far, they're all great sculpts, but I really like him up in that tree, and like Ron, he's holding their straight silver. Then you've got Try Again Bragg. He is a big beast of a man. I actually feel like he's a little bit small here. They haven't talked about his description in a while, but I do recall he's a giant, so he actually should be bigger than these 2, which are 2 of the larger men in the regiment. But he should be massive. He's called Try Again Bragg, though, because even though he's huge and he carries a big heavy weapon, he can't shoot anything very well. And he always needs to try again to get his target. And finally, we have Master Sniper Helene Larkin, also known as Mad Larkin, because he's kind of crazy, and he's a great shot. Poacher, I think is what he was on Tanith. But he's crazy. You know, he talks to himself sort of stuff, and everybody knows he's nuts, but they also know he's the best shot. And he's just, again, another great sculpt. Much better than the original pewters. Everything here is better than the originals. I feel like Ron had a plasma gun. He was in it, basically the same pose, but didn't have the cool cloak, I don't think, as much. Bragg didn't have as good of a sculpt. None of them were as good. They were good, but not as good as this. So this is one of those rare cases where I look at a new model kit replacing an old one, and I just say everything about it is better. And it's hard to say different. I mean, these are really beautiful sculpts. So I'm going to open it up now. You get some bases. Nothing fancy or unique there. You get this booklet. It's bigger than most that I'm used to. And it explains how to do everything, but then it just gets into the instructions of how to build everybody. But then you also get this, which are their rules. And these guys have unique rules because they're all characters. My understanding is in 9th edition, these guys are cool, and they're actually not that bad, but they're all characters. And that means that basically this little squad of 6 guardsmen, you know, as cool as they are, they're just guardsmen. They die pretty easily. And then the enemy gets like a lot of secondary objectives. I don't play 9th anymore. At some point I'll try it again, I'm sure. But my understanding is basically because of how the characters work versus secondaries, these guys really aren't viable. You're just basically giving away secondaries in one squad and killing, what is that, like, it's not even 20 wounds, I mean, between them, which, you know, it's a lot of wounds for guardsmen. You've got 11, what is that, 17 wounds. 17 wounds between them, and that's a lot for guardsmen until you remember they're just guardsmen with mostly 5+ saves, even with their bonus to cover. It's not that good. I imagine these guys get just destroyed. Every time I've played 9th, the firepower I've seen is just insane, and it's only gotten worse. So I can understand why people think these aren't that great, even if the models are. The sprue is very difficult to look at and really talk about because it is a jumbled mess like so many of their new sprues. The new sprues, they fit so much stuff on them, and I can't fault them for the way they do it because this is very efficient. It's just not great for looking at and kind of getting a feel for it. But you do have a few standout pieces we could look at. Gaunt's face. I do believe that's the alternative for Mccall right there, yeah. You've got these las guns they use are different. Actually, that one doesn't have it. That's odd. I thought they all have it, but maybe not. Let me look closer. I guess it's there, sort of. You could sort of see it. There's wood grain, anyways, because all their rifles are given frames that are made of gnarl wood, which is a tree that was native to Tanith. So that's another thing that makes them special. That and their war blades, which are this like these two are basically traditional parts of their war gear of even when they were fighting on their own planet. The gnarl trees are just like this thing that's their, you know, it's their home. Gnarl wood is important to them. And so having their weapons made with it is like this little piece of home that they all carry with them. And then the war blades, they call them straight silver, are just these really nice knives they use. And they all have one, including Gaunt. He has his own. He was given one. And yeah, these are just really nice models. Everything about them's cool. I do like, which I think this is Mccall's, and it's like his rifle's on his back, his las gun, and it's in this nice leather like wrap. So that's a nice little detail I find right there. Make sure I get that good view for you. Yeah, everything about these they're just great. Larkin's long las. Try to see some of the faces. They're hard. They are really small pieces. There's Ron. That's Mad Larkin. It's the one thing I don't particularly like about the new stuff. That's Bragg. It's just that the pieces are very small. I'm a big fan of their Calm. Just going to stop and say that. The Calm Korbeck. It's a great look for him. I really like it. Yeah, the pieces are very small. You know, there's something about the older ones that I can understand. They're chunky and people don't like them as much when it comes to details. But I do like my models a bit chunky. You know, looking at the old pewters and stuff. It just felt like it was a little bit more like substantial. Whereas these are very nice, but they are also, again, these are very small pieces. And I'm not a big fan of small pieces because I've got, I don't know, clumsy fingers, I guess. And I'm always picking things up that I have to go look for once I drop them. And I drop them every time. But yeah, anyways, I'm not really going to keep looking at this with you because I think I've shown off every bit of this sprue. And it's all really nice. And it is just such a cool kit. I'm very happy to have this one. I'm looking at how to get some more guys for this. I've been waiting to see if they'd put out a plastic kit. I don't want to pay a lot of money for guardsmen. The Krieg are tempting, but they're still quite expensive for an army that, I don't know. Just to be honest, you can 3D print really nice options for Krieg. And you can buy third-party like plastic kits of guys that would look very good as, you know, Krieg stand-ins. But Tanith, I don't know. I've never seen a third-party alternative that's as nice as this. And I really wish they'd put out a squad of men and a heavy weapons team. I don't know how it would work because they're not the same as most guards units, but they need like 2 or 3 boxes. The other thing I'd like to see is more character kits like this for them. I feel like a second run where you get another Gaunt having his power sword, because he does eventually change to a power sword. And also getting characters like Dordan and Milo. Ron has a friend whose name, Fagor. Basically some different dudes that I'd like to see their plastic kits come. Just to expand this. I would definitely buy like every single kit. If they did like 4 or 5 character kits, you know, ideally, hopefully not just always putting Gaunt in, but one more Gaunt would be nice. But yeah, if they kept putting these out, I would buy them. You know, I don't spend a lot of money on Games Workshop stuff anymore, but these here, I see these as a collector piece. And when it comes to collector stuff, I can understand spending more money on it, so I'm okay with that, and I would buy more of these. And I really hope GW puts out more kits for the Gaunt's Ghosts, and I'd like to see more characters in general from the Black Library books. Caiaphas Cain would be cool. Him and Jurgen. And all of his buddies. That'd be another cool kit. There's a lot of cool characters in that series, too. And there's others. I mean, they've done a few already. Severina Rain and some of the Space Marines. But, I don't know. Gaunt's Ghost, Caiaphas Cain. Those are my jam. I like those guys. I'd like to see more character kits for them. And I would definitely pick them up. But, yeah. This video's gone on long enough. I just felt that when it was 6 characters, it deserved a bit more attention than most videos. And because it's based on a book, I kind of wanted to talk about the books themselves and the story and who these guys are. And I think why that matters when it comes to picking this up. So thanks again for watching as always. And if you have any thoughts or questions, anything you want to say, just leave them in the comments. And yeah, have a great day.